Okay, welcome back everyone to our next installment of Meetings with Remarkable Buddhists here in Japan with Japanese Engaged Buddhists. And today's topic, as we move along through various topics that will be featured in our book, is on the poverty issue and also somewhat the suicide prevention issue. And it's interesting to see that interconnectedness. In the book, in the volume that we're publishing, one of the central case studies that we will show is the Hitosaji One Spoonful Association that was started by a group of Jodo Pure Land priests. But today we're going to speak with Reverend Noda here. He actually trained in that organization to become a Buddhist chaplain. So we're going to get sort of a different view than what appears in the book from a junior monk working in that movement. And so, yeah, I'd like to introduce Reverend Noda to you all, and we're going to have this little conversation here. Reverend Noda is the vice-abbot of Rinsho-ji Temple here in Kasugai City. It's a suburb of Nagoya, here in his 500-year-old Rinzai Zen temple. He's a Rinzai Zen priest from the Myoshinji order. He completed, you're 31 now?
32.
32,
yeah.
Very young. He completed, and he's the vice-abbot of this temple, not the abbot yet, your father's still the abbot. One of the things that comes out in this book and comes out as a theme in Engaged Buddhist work here in Japan in this era is the vice-abbots of temples are often younger priests. They're a little less busy than being the full abbot, and it's a very good time of relative freedom and economic security in some ways, that they have more time to get involved and devoted to socially engaged Buddhist work. So it's a really good time to catch those younger priests and introduce them to social activities. So in that way, Reverend Noda entered the Rinsho Buddhist chaplain training program that is featured in the chapter on disaster relief and Buddhist chaplaincy, that chapter. You entered that program in what, 2018, 2017?
Started study here.
When did you begin the Rinsho program? It took you 3 years?
Maybe 2018.
2000. So you graduated in basically 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And that's pretty quick. So yes, he completed his certification in 2020. And during his training, he did some of his residency work here in Nagoya in an intensive care nursing home. And he also did a certain amount of training under the head of the Hitosaji One Spoonful Association located in Tokyo under Reverend Gakugen Yoshimizu, who's a major part of that chapter that we did on that. So he is now back here at his home temple in Nagoya, and he's started to do his own activities on these issues. As I understand, you're not working just on poverty issue, you're also working on suicide prevention. Tell me first about your suicide prevention work. What are you doing in that?
So I'm involved in named 命に向き合う宗教者の会 in Nagoya.
命
に向き合う宗教者の会
Religious professionals confronting the issue of life is sort of the quick translation of this organization. Yeah. There are a number of these. This is a network of priests.
So mainly Tokai area, including Aichi Prefecture and mainly Gifu or Mie.
I see. Sort of in the general Nagoya metropolitan area. So there's a group in Tokyo, a network in Tokyo, Kanto,
and
one in
Osaka,
Nagoya,
and
Hiroshima,
and Kyushu.
Kyushu. Now there are 5 networks. There weren't any such networks in 2006, and now there are 5 regional, ecumenical, doesn't matter what Buddhist group you're from, of priests who come together. So tell me more about that group.
So I'm working at Inochi-ni-Mukiau Shūkyō Shankai as a Rinzai priest, and there are various schools in that association.
Right.
So mainly we work for believed family who has lose very important person due to suicide. So we hold Buddhist memorial ceremony at the last of year for believed family, and other activity. We hold a sabakai.
Sabakai, is it like a wakachiai?
Wakachiai, and
Yes.
conversation with believed family member.
So you have a large memorial service once a year for bereaved families, and then you have monthly.
Monthly, no.
How often?
Once, 3 times in a year.
3 times a year, you have a kind of a group counseling.
Group counseling, yeah,
I
for unbelieved family.
I see.
But due to COVID-19, we can't, cannot hold the activity except Buddhist memorial ceremony. Right. But in addition, before COVID-19, we hold Buddhist ceremony for believed family in a temple, and we gather and invite family member to memorial ceremony, but we cannot invite family. So in to recent 2 years, we held that ceremony online by Zoom and YouTube Live.
Have you been able to do any online counseling?
Online counseling, we still not.
But some individual priests do that.
Yeah. I heard.
Yeah, not the network.
But I didn't work there.
Yeah, this system of memorial services and group counseling is detailed a lot in the chapter that I did on suicide prevention. In the original group that was started in Tokyo, they do this kind of group counseling once a month. So, okay. So your suicide prevention work is a little bit on hold these days? On hold, you're not doing much in this area now?
It's the activity is ongoing, but the Hindu, we cannot work frequently so much. So your principal work then is not so much suicide prevention, it's more mainly the child poverty problem.
Okay, can you tell us some about that?
I'm working in NPO named Otera-oyatsu Club.
Okay, otera-oyatsu would be club, the Temple Snack Club.
So we are that initiative aim to solve the child poverty problem in Japan. So as you know, there are many poor children in Japan. So
I didn't know that. Everyone thinks Japan is a very rich and prosperous and beautiful and safe, and especially in Asia, everyone wants to copy Japanese society. So I don't tell us of this news. There's a lot of children in poverty. We think of India, or we think of some Cambodia. We don't think of Japan.
So also in Japan, so 1 in 7 children is now in need some reasons. So we have to help these children for Japanese future. So in Otera-oyatsu Club, we do help people to the contents of activities in temple in Japan. We take some offerings, food offerings, meal from worshippers,
right,
or the people
right,
along temple.
Right.
So, but sometimes we cannot eat all of them.
Right,
So,
right.
So
in Japanese Buddhism, the local people don't give food to the monks like in traditional Theravada countries, like breakfast, lunch kind of thing. It's more when they come for visit, they bring some kind of present, which is usually some beautiful Japanese confectionery snack, cookies and cakes. And it can be dangerous to living in a Japanese Buddhist temple. You have too many sweets around.
Sweets, So sweets kingdom.
Right. So you use all these that you basically get for free, and instead of wasting them.
No, not so. We waste them. So please take from the gift from a Buddha or ancestors, and distribute them. We call that osusowake to family, mainly single parent families in Japan, directly or by support groups in Japan.
I see.
For example, 子ども食堂 or 児童養護施設 or something.
So these are snacks, so they don't really form a main part of the children's diet, but they're kind of part of like after school, or where is the Japanese child who is living in poverty, they still go to school, mostly?
Mostly.
Yes. And so what is their suffering? They go to school, they have clothes, they get lunch at school.
Lunch at school is very important.
So the poverty is hitting them when they come home? So poverty affects them after school.
After school. Or before school.
I see.
So some children, I heard, only sufficient diet is only in school.
Their school lunch, right.
Lunch.
So they have nothing for breakfast and nothing.
Breakfast and dinner is a cup ramen.
Oh, I see.
Cup noodle. So not good diet.
I see.
So we are distributing not only snacks, but also rice before okome and or daily nichiyouhin, for example, mask or a towel or
what?
Towel.
A towel. Okay, like daily necessary stuff.
Necessities.
Kind of like at Hitosaji. Those basic things.
It's very close,
Right. In the Hitosaji activity, they go out on patrols at night to support the homeless, and the initial focus was providing like a rice bowl, but now things have expanded, and in the winter they might give you a little hand warmer, and in the summer I think that we always give out like fresh underwear or a little like daily, like really simple things that are important for daily life.
Very important. So through osusowake in Otera Oyatsu Club, we see we make the connection people to people, and who have people and not have people, and there are many people in Japan who wants to help someone who's suffering from many things. So, but almost all of them we don't know how to help needy people.
Right.
So otera-oyatsu club is like a big bowl or dish to take the kind mind from people who have many things.
I see. So are you also trying to raise awareness among your temple members to maybe don't give us a box of cookies next time, give us something like a healthy thing, and then we can pass it on to the kids? Are you doing that kind of awareness campaign? Yes, I see. So the temple, are you giving the food directly to the kids, or you're going through mostly NPO?
We are now acting two pillars, and directly we send Osusuoke box, including snacks or rice and daily necessities to directly to needy single parent family from temple.
I see.
But other pillar is send or give Osusuoke box by a supporting group.
Kind of we call it maybe a care package.
Care package, care package by a supporting group. For example, Kodomo Shokudo or Jido Yosetsu.
So there's some NPO groups, Kodomo Shokudo. It's children's kitchen.
Children's kitchen in English.
Kind of nonprofit groups that are working on this issue as well, who have set these facilities up. So this is, from my understanding, this is also a really important, I would say, more recent development again, in terms of engaged Buddhist activities in Japan. Temples have always been part of the community for a long time, but there was this process after the war where the temple started losing contact with the community, especially many people moved to the city. And then so what has replaced community support is an increase in Japan in nonprofit organizations. Nonprofit organizations, there was a law in 1998 that made creating nonprofits much more easy, and there's been a great kind of mushrooming of nonprofit organizations. But the problem in Japan is that nonprofit organizations and Buddhist temples and priests are relatively not so connected. A lot of people
I think so too,
who work in the civil society movement are kind of unreligious or a-religious or secular. So, but I think more and more the last 5, 6, 7 years, maybe 10 years most, we're seeing more of a connection with this engaged Buddhist movement with the nonprofit world, which I think is really, really important.
So especially in Japan, there is a thought of seikyo bunri,
separation of church and state.
So it's very difficult to make rich connection in PO and Buddhist temple. But we are otera-oyatsu club is we are mainly activity of Buddhist priests in Japan. But non-profit organization. So we are adjusting the right way to we are finding the distance from separation of church and state as a Buddhist monk.
But the separation of the church and state was created at the end of the war, put into the Constitution by the Americans, government that wrote the Constitution, as an intelligent maneuver because of the very fusion of religion and state in the pre-war era. But then it's been taken to the other extreme in the post-war era. And it meant just pushing all religion out of the public sector. And as we've seen in not just in the engaged Buddhist world, but all over the world, religious groups play a really important role in the civil society movement. So this has been a reason that Buddhists have not been involved in the civil society movement for a long time. But I think we're seeing a change in people's attitudes towards this. I think it also helps a lot that these kind of new groups, your Oyatsu Club, pretty small, horizontal, ecumenical, different people working together. It's fueled by energy and effort and not so much money. So in the past, big Buddhist organizations come up with some campaign and it's very top down and they use a lot of money. And it seems half of the money is spent on advertising and running an office. And it seems like a self-promoting thing. And this is kind of the opposite. And we've seen this in the suicide prevention movement. It's like, you're not doing this to make Rinzai Zen Buddhism famous or yourself famous. So I think that's one reason that NPOs and the local people also trust you, because you're coming to them as like, we're here in the community. This is my temple, it lives in the community. Actually, the next question I had is, so you talked about the two pillars. So you work with the NPOs, but also you do some direct support. Are there people in your own community here that you support directly with these care packages? People who are living in poverty?
Living all over Japan.
Yeah, but just here, right in your neighborhood.
Not only neighborhood, but also all over Japan. So
no, I understand all over Japan, but in your neighborhood now, are you supporting it directly?
There are a few family in Kasugai City. I'm helping. But there are 2,400 family. Single parent family in Kasugai, I heard. 2,400
single parents families
in Kasugai City.
And when you say single parent family, it's mostly a mother with the children.
Mostly mother. Sometimes father.
Right.
But in Otera Oyatsu Club, we are supporting only 5 or 6 families in Kasugai City. So I have to find.
When did this work begin? This temple snack club? What year did you begin this?
I started since 2015. So
2015.
About
5 years.
5 years.
So
7 years.
I see.
So, but I cannot find. Single parent in need alone here. So recently I visit Kasugai City Hall and make a connection with the Kankatsu Busho.
The people who are working on children's support issues at the city hall.
So I introduce our initiatives to city hall officers, so get understand.
Were they friendly to you and interested, or they were just sort of like, so, what are you doing here, you Buddhist monk? Get out of here.
So I explain how this initiative is useful and helpful for city hall members.
I see.
So we are making the introduction card for single parent family, and there is line ID QR code on that card. And in Kasugai City Hall, they're put that cards for family, single parent family, and distribute sometimes.
And you sometimes make a connection.
So we are making the connection to the single parent family in need. Recently.
So this Temple Snack Club is there like a national organization of them?
In
Zenkoku?
National.
There's a national.
So
Temple Snack Club.
Temple Snack Club. So not only Rinzai school.
Right.
The origin of this initiatives
Right.
is from Nara Prefecture.
Nara, yes.
Only one temple
Right.
in Jodo school.
Right.
Named Angyoji.
Angyoji.
So, but the Reverend Matsushima,
right,
the founder of the
right.
NPO,
right.
are making many connections and to give out the help to the fellows or some temples
right.
or priests.
Right.
And,
so it just started to grow like that.
Yeah.
When did he start that?
I heard he started from 2013.
Wow.
But in the near first,
right.
there is not named that he
they
is not
used a different name.
Different name. So only individual activity.
I see.
So, but he Matsushima, and
right.
Matsushima found that 一人の力では足りない。
Yeah, it's too much to do by himself.
Yeah.
Too much to do by himself.
So he felt that he had to
he has to expand his work and connect with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very similar to what happened with the suicide prevention movement, because especially doing suicide prevention work by yourself, many priests started to burn out. So they found making a network really helped them. I see. So in the Temple Snack Club you work in, it's
as a director.
You're the director of it. It's just Rinzai, or it's Nagoya City, or what is the it's a subgroup, right? It's a chapter, as we say.
Subgroup.
So like he's out in Nara, so he has his own network there. You have a network that you're cooperating here in Kasugai City or Nagoya or Aichi.
I'm building the collection with temples in Nagoya or Aichi prefecture.
I see.
And I'm expanding the collection.
So you're the director. You're also the founder of this. So how many priests or how many temples are in this kind of Nagoya Aichi group?
I don't know how many, the number of the priests, but there are 1,800 temples.
Wow, 1,800
temples all over Japan.
Oh, all over Japan.
Participating in this NPO.
I see. And how many do you kind of work with in your activity
together? Yeah.
How many do you work with here locally?
Locally in Kasugai City?
Yeah, Kasugai,
Nagoya.
Yeah.
I don't know the number immediately.
But you're working with a group of what? How many priests?
How many priests
do you work with directly?
In this area, I'm working with 3 or 4.
3 or 4? I see. And they're all Rinzai?
No, almost Rinzai school.
Almost all Rinzai.
Sometimes Jodo Shinshu school priests come to bring some snacks or daily necessities for this NPO.
Yeah, this is one of the things I always experienced at our INEP conferences, and I think you're also experiencing here, is when you come together to work on a social issue, the differences in your Buddhist teaching become less important. And it becomes a way to kind of bridge. It's like, oh, those people, I don't really like their teaching. And we were taught that their teaching is sort of idiotic, but he's a really nice priest and he does good work. So he's my friend. You know?
So
that kind of thing. So it's a very good way to bridge over doing social work together.
Yeah. So I think it's very important to start from issue first.
Right. Yeah, we go to the INEP conference and there's some very kind of strict Theravada monk, and he's looking at the Japanese priest. He's like, and the Japanese priest is kind of like, oh, that's Hinayana Buddhism. And then by the end of the conference, they're like best friends working on environmental issues. Good. So that's all very interesting. A question. So how did you, one of the complaints about Japanese Buddhist priests in the post-war era is that they're just, they've been described as having the mind of a businessman, that they seem more interested in playing golf than doing other things, that they're not really they're certainly not engaged. So what made you interested in doing this kind of social? Why are you interested in social work?
Actually, I had gotten bullied when I was junior high school, about for half a year or so. So I felt very sad and very faced difficulties.
Can I ask why you were bullied?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah, I don't know the reason.
Wow.
It's very tough memory for me.
I see.
So it's that experience is my roots to join the some activities in Engaged Buddhism. So from the due to or thanks to that experience, I've been thinking that I'd like to help people who facing difficulties in some reasons. So I'm very interested in Engaged Buddhism or social activities, and
as a way to connect to people in suffering like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the really central themes of the book, is this Japanese concept of Muen, disconnection, alienation. So there's a term that was created about a decade ago called the alienated or the disconnected society, the Muen Shakai, because it seems that, especially in Japan, where group identity is so important, there are more and more people who are falling out of the group when you become mentally ill and you become suicidal, then people don't want to be your friend. If you're poor and you don't have food and you don't look good, and in the article that I wrote about you, there was a girl, she was called Mud Mask. She was, she was bullied because she had a dirty face. So then she becomes Muen, disconnected, alienated. There's the problem of hikikomori, children who get, or people who get bullied, and they feel they can't go to school, so then they stay at home, and then they lose connection with society. There's so many. Now I think it's getting to the point where the alienated people are more than the people who are actually in the group now. So that's I think a powerful. In many of the activities we've seen, it seems like priests are trying to create new community from these people. So like some of the suicide prevention priests, like Reverend Emoto, gathers not just one-on-one suicide prevention, but let's all get together. All these people, you're all suicidal, you're all mentally ill. Let's all get together as a group.
Or a community where those people can spend easy time.
Spend an easy time, but also this is kind of, we talk about the Four Noble Truths as a process of understanding suffering. You can practice it on a collective level, because a lot of people blame themselves for their failures,
mental issues,
or whatever failure they have, mostly because people blame them. It's your fault. But then when you gather such people together and they hear this, oh, we all were told the same story, and then they go, kind of light bulb goes on, like, maybe this is a story and not the truth, because everyone's getting the same bad story. So then they go, well, then if it's not my fault, what's the reason? And then you start going deeper into what's the real reason that we're all feeling suicidal. And and then you start actually doing what we do Engaged Buddhism, a kind of a social analysis. But let's come back to that. So this was a. So this work you're doing, are you finding that you're able to? Is there a kind of you said there, are you able to build a kind of a new community amongst these families who are living in poverty? I think it must be still very difficult right now.
I think it's a bit difficult to create a new community, but we can to return the people to social community.
Right.
So I think the issue of isolation is the roots of various problems in Japan.
Right.
So 孤立の問題. So
isolation, which is another sort of a synonym to alienation or disconnection. Yeah, it's all the same kind of idea.
So, for example, in otera-oyatsu club, we give snack care package to single parent families, but not this is not only food support, but also to recreate the connection to the people or society, and feel we'd like to make the single parent mother or father or children in there to feel that there are many people who watch us, or to take care, someone take care us.
That are looking at you not with a critical eye, but with a caring eye.
Caring eyes.
Right.
So,
I mean, my understanding is that in Japanese society, people are very prone to being socially shamed. And so when they have a problem, they just hide it. And so, but that creates even more isolation. So
those people is facing the difficulty to make a voice of help.
Right. Most of them don't say help.
Cannot say help.
Right.
But there are many such people in Japan. So our activities is to see, watch, or listen the suffering in many various sufferings from single parent families, and not only here, but also connect the affiliate supporting group or supporting system in all society.
So some of these families you work with directly. You have some personal connection. Not so much personal connection, but some people, some single parent mother or father sometimes give us the message, which says the suffering, the complete contents of suffering. For example, they are
working or double work or triple work.
Right.
So they don't have the time to nurture or spend. They cannot spend so much time with their children, and so the children are feeling the sad or sad. For example,
right. Do one of the things I'm thinking, do any of these people ever come to your temple for some kind of advice or
only once the single parent mother and her kids visited Rinsho temple, and they gave appreciation to me.
Right.
But in otera-oyatsu club connection, is almost.
Yep. Go ahead.
So almost all connection is made by internet connection.
I see.
So there is a consult form on the website of Otera-oyatsu Club, and they can connect, make a connection with us via internet.
Right.
So
they can keep privacy.
24 days. 24 hours.
I see. Yeah, I'm wondering if, as this project gets deeper and develops more, because in the suicide prevention movement, you had some people who started to go to the temple more to visit. And then the concept of gatekeeper developed in the temple. The temple as and I talk about this in the chapter on Buddhist chaplaincy. The term gatekeeper in Japanese, especially for a temple, is the temple can act as a go-between between people who are having some kind of problem and a place where they could have a solution. So you might not have the solution, but you know somebody else in the community that can help them. So the temple becomes kind of a go-between to help people. So people who don't know where to go, might come to you. And so I'm wondering if I interview you in 3 or 4 years, it'll be like, oh, now we often have people come to our temple, come see us. So. Because we also know there's a strong connection in Japan between suicide and poverty. There's a higher rate of suicide among people in poverty. So they're also suffering a lot from mental problems. Okay. Let's see. So tell us about, I'd like to hear about your experiences working with Hitosaji no Kai and with Reverend Yoshimizu. He was kind of your teacher or your director. So you participated in that activity, what, over a space of a year? So you went, what, every once a month or?
Once a month.
Once a month.
Or half a year.
Perhaps
half a year.
I see.
So honestly saying, the first time I go and visit the Hitosaji no Kai, I thought the people who are stayed up homeless as very fearless people.
Scared. They're scary people. The
Scary.
homeless people are scary. They're out and out, dangerous.
Dangerous. Yeah.
Right.
But actually, I made a musubi rice bowl and distribute them to Ueno or Asakusa, and I met various or many homeless people, but they said me that thank you very much, please take care to me, and some person, the other person said that there are our fellows
Right.
Over there. So
Right.
please give them
Right.
less more.
Right.
So I thought they're very compassionate and very kind. They have a very compassionate mind. So I was very impressed. But on the other hand, I'm very deeply reflected my bias to homeless people. So this is the most big things I studied in Hitosaji One.
Yeah, I think that's one of the important things that most people don't see from the outside. From the outside, they see it as an activity to help the homeless by giving them aid. But the tricky thing is it's almost a trick. It's like, is the problem of homelessness the homeless or the people who create the society that creates the homeless? So maybe the problem is with us more who are not homeless. So, and that begins with our attitude towards them. So yeah, I often take, every semester I take my KO students, and some of the KO students come from very beautiful background, and they kind of a little bit snobbish, and they think about Japanese economic nationalism, and then they go and they're like, what are we doing with the homeless? And then they're like, oh, they're just normal people. And it's like, yes, they're normal people, and you should treat them like normal people, or more, or better than normal people.
So better than I think it's more compassionate. So I think it's very important to go and meet those who are suffering from various reasons, and make deep conversation with them. I think it's very important, and see the actual life or the thought of them.
Right. Yes, that's it. It's a practice of the first noble truth. It's we are going to actually go and find suffering and connect with it. Instead of, most of us are like, to have a happy life, we have to run away from suffering. But Buddha taught us, no, actually, in order to get away from suffering, you have to go into it. Yeah, what are your impressions? What did you think of Reverend Yoshimizu?
Impression?
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah.
I think my first impression is a very compassionate and kind face Buddhist priest, and it's a model of a Japanese Buddhist priest.
Right.
And actually, he is very kind to me, and give many lectures or some tips of, to supporting people. So I feel very thanks to him. And recently, I cannot meet Yoshimizu-san, but I've always wanted to meet him again. And if I can, I participate in the activity of Hitosaji no Kai again.
So he was a kind teacher for you.
Yeah,
it's not like being in the Rinzai training center.
Yeah.
So you learn the Jodo Pure Land way.
Pure land teaching.
Just be like Amida. Everything's be kind, soft. We have the hard hand of Rinzai and the soft hand of Pure Land, and they go together.
Yeah, mixed up.
So I'd like to ask you a little more difficult questions, some deeper questions. One of the things we kind of mentioned is that, you go into the suffering and then you get more deeply involved in it. And then you may feel that it's quite difficult to resolve, and that maybe even your actions are not enough. And I think this is something that we're seeing a bit in the suicide prevention movement. There's some priests who will remain dedicated to kind of the front line action, which is tonight, I will be there for someone. But there's some other people, I think like Nemoto-san or Hakamata-san, who are like, this is people just being reborn every minute. So we have to get to the root problem. We have to go deep. And so that involves some kind of deeper kind of action. So the oyatsu, the temple snack club is very important in that it's helping people who need the help now. But is it going to solve the poverty problem in Japan? Where is the poverty problem coming from in Japan? Like, well, I thought Japan was doing well.
Maybe it's rooted in isolation or alienate being. I think so. Koritsu.
Okay. So where's the alienation coming from? I mean, it's different than it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
40 years ago.
Yes?
I think difficult from.
Things have gotten worse.
Yeah, worse.
More alienated, more suicides, more mental illness, more hikikomori, more single families with children in poverty. So
the issue of individuality is affected to isolation issue, I think. So the connection in each areas or local community is
yeah, the connections in the community are getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
Gradually.
Right.
So I think it's a very big problem that when we face some problem, but we cannot to say help.
Okay.
Easily.
Okay. In terms of the poverty problem, though, I'm thinking very much about the increase in child poverty and the increase of single mothers living in poverty. So do you know why that's happening? Why the
number of single parent?
Why are they falling into poverty?
So the poverty of single parent family is most single mother parents. Right. So I think so single parent mother have to work as a daikoku bashira to earn to living mainly person.
They have to be the main breadwinner, as we say, yeah.
But she has to also nurture their kids. Right. So there are two roles to single parent mother. So as a daikoku bashira and
the main breadwinner, and the main caregiver. Right. So she's doing 2 in 1.
Yeah. So, but in Japan, there are still the discrimination discrimination to women. So it's very difficult, more difficult to find high salary job, or start the job as women, rather than men. Right. So
a lot of these women may have worked, and then they had children, and they stopped working, and now they try to re-enter the job market. It's very difficult.
More difficult than men. So the risk to fall into poverty situation, the higher risk. There's higher risk.
There's a higher risk
for women, single parent mother.
It also seems there's a higher risk for everyone, because I was doing some research for this chapter, and what was it? It was like around 1980, maybe something like 18% of the Japanese workforce was part-time. Now it is at 38% of the Japanese workforce. That's more than 1 in 3 people are not full-time workers. They're working on part-time salary. So something seems to be going wrong with the policy around the labor policy.
Maybe it's affected to the situation. I don't know.
Well, it seems to affect the situation. If you're a part-time worker, then your job security is lower. Your salary is lower. You have no benefits, extra benefits, no end of year bonus or anything like that. And your isolation increases because people who are full-time workers tend to work in a company that feels like more like a family, and they help each other. But part-time worker just kind of comes and goes, and if they can't work, they disappear. They fall out of the company and we never see them.
So the situation is getting worse and worse due to COVID-19.
Right, and then it gets even worse because of COVID, right? It gets worse everywhere. So do you think Buddhist priests should start, because this is also has an effect on the level of suicide, because there's a lot of mental illness that comes about either from people who lost their job or people who have their job but have to overwork.
So it's much.
So do you think Buddhist priests should get more involved in kind of we say advocacy on labor laws, economic situation, even some kind of political activism about, hey, let's vote for somebody different who's actually trying to help the part-time worker. Do you think Buddhist priests should get involved in this, or this is not? I mean, because this is kind of, for some people, they're like, no, this is not the work of a Buddhist priest.
I think it's very important to involve in making advocacy.
Right.
We Japanese priests, but I only know that child poverty as a director of otera-oyatsu club, temple snack club. But regarding to otera-oyatsu club, we are not making advocacy yet. Not yet. But I think the contents of suffering of many people is not frequently to be known all over the people in society. So because the contents actually the voices of people who are facing difficulties are not
they're not made known. They're not made.
No.
So isn't that the job of a Buddhist priest to make those voices heard? Isn't it the role, or isn't an important role of a Buddhist priest is to raise up the voice of those in suffering? Go, hey, look at these people. Let's know.
So it's very important role of Japanese Buddhist priests. So not all, of course, not only priests. I think it's very important to let people know what is the suffering of the society. So have a high resolution of the various problems.
Right.
So we can tell people what is the root of the problem. So it's very, I think it's very important to make advocacy or let people know or spread the situation, or for example, poverty situation to people, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big step in the evolution of a engaged Buddhist activity from my teacher, Ajahn Sulak, calls social welfare and social transformation. So, or we have the simple saying, give a man a fish and he eats today, but teach them how to fish and they can take care of themselves. So we can support people for their emergency need, but then we need to go, why are they in suffering? So let's also work on that. So then it gets something deeper. I know when talking to Reverend Yoshimizu, that he speaks openly about the problems in the Japanese welfare system and all sorts of problems the homeless face, structural violence from the welfare system that makes it difficult for homeless to apply and access to welfare, to the companies that try to steal their money by tricking them. So, but I haven't seen Hitosaji, they haven't decided to kind of make any campaign in that direction. That's okay. That's maybe not what their decided role is, but it seems to me eventually that has to jump into that area. Otherwise you going to be, is your goal, I'll give you two goals. Oyatsu Club will keep going into the future. After you are old and you die, you have a son, he continues Oyatsu Club. That's one goal. The second goal is Oyatsu Club is able to go deep, solve the problem of poverty, and in 20, 30 years, no more Oyatsu Club because the problem is solved.
No, I think the second one is ideal.
Right. So then it becomes a big challenge to see how to.
Yeah. So through the initiatives, through the our initiative, our activity, contents of activity is a little bit changing from the start out. So recently we made a purpose. 頼って嬉しい、頼られて嬉しい。なんて言うんでしょうね。英語で言うと、頼って嬉しい、頼られて嬉しい。
Keep talking and I'll find a translation for it. Go ahead.
So, 頼って嬉しい means the people who are facing the difficulties from some reason. So make the voice of to help someone, and after that we can get connection to people or society, and they feel very glad.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, recently to Otera-oyatsu Club, we get many messages from the supporters all over Japan. So some people says that I appreciate the opportunity to help people facing difficulties.
Right.
So there are many people who are thinking to thinking they want to help someone in Japan. And our main work or our main aim is not only help as a distributing food, but also make the connection to help connection between people who wants to help someone and people facing difficulties. And our main activity is cultivate people mind to help people and rebuilding the compassionate Japanese culture all over Japan.
Yeah, I see this, and I see this as a very important, when we talk about working on the second noble truth, we talk about the structural change in the system, but also the cultural change with the attitude, and they have to come together. So I think in the post-war era, everything was very much focused on, it became more individualistic, competition, take care of yourself, gambatte, there's a very good scene in the movie that was the documentary that was done about Reverend Nemoto called The Departure, and he goes and visits this young woman who he's helping, and she lives with her parents and her grandfather, and the grandfather is very old generation, and he's like, why are you going and talking to this priest, and she's like, because he's helpful, and he's like, you have to depend on yourself and just resolve problems on your own. So there's this very kind of like getting over that kind of culture, and actually, we say from Muen Disconnection to Yuen having connection. So yeah, building a new kind of public ethics or public morality of like, I think for a long time people just they supported people in their group and they didn't look beyond the group. And that was natural when you live in a group society, but now in Japan those groups are falling apart. The family is not a unit anymore. Family is all broken up, bara bara, and the company used to be a family, but now the company got rid of all the full-time workers, and it's all part-time workers, and no place feels like a group anymore. So then people have to get out of that, go like, I'm going to encounter someone I don't know who's not from my group, but he's a fellow person. And, I think Buddhist ethics is very important for getting over that kind of like small-minded group ethics to the big ethics. Like, there are people out there, they're suffering. Let's go help them. So I think this project like that is very important in changing that cultural mindset. I think that's very important contribution. And then there's some kind of, I think, beauty to the Four Noble Truth process, because it just keeps building and you get deeper and deeper and deeper. And as you get deeper, the action becomes sort of almost atarimai. Like, oh, of course, now we will do this work. So maybe you're already into the second stage of now people coming together from there that are unconnected people who are wanting to help each other, who are kind of starting to make a new community. And then usually, maybe from that standpoint, there will be emerge as a stronger critical consciousness to, now we are a community, let's go to the government and go, what is going on with this economic policy? And what's going on with the public welfare office, that it discriminates against homeless people, and it discriminates against, you know,
that's a very big issue.
and the society that discriminates against women who've been divorced, who are living in poverty. So it may be a natural progression.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting, Reverend Noda. Do you have any thoughts or questions or final things you want to say to me?
No, so much, but I always think my thought from your question. It's very precious time for me.
Yeah, it's good. It's finally good now to maybe get out. COVID is hopefully dying a death, but it's been a wake-up call for us. So yeah, hopefully you can start getting back a little to your suicide prevention work too. But I don't want you to work too hard. You enjoy your life as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.